Good evening, everyone. First of all, thank you very much for coming out and being a part of this. This is what we call a community engagement. My name is Demetrious Jensen, the founder of the Demetrious Johnson Charitable Foundation. We put this event on because there's so many things that's going on in our community. You got folks out here, our kids are dying at an alarming rate. You know, and they want to talk about the opioid epidemic. It's an epidemic in murders in our community. Young folks are dying at an alarming rate. And I don't know if we really taking accountability for our own community. We got to stand up and step up to the plate and do things a little different than what we've been doing. Now, this is not going to be like the normal forum where, you know, this is all political and everybody just say the political thing. This is talking about accountability. You know, talking about holding elected officials, people in positions accountable for what's going on in our community. Because the only way it's going to change if we hold everybody accountable for what they say they're going to do. And everyone that's up here, I believe in. Because I tell you, if anybody ever listened to me or heard our show on Sunday morning, I got to give a little shameless plug. Here, our show on Sunday morning, they know we keep it real. You know how the young folks say keep it 100? We keep it 100. And we want to make sure we do that, because if we don't be real about what's going on, we're going to continue to have the same problems we've had. I want to thank Hot 104.1, our station that I'm on Sunday mornings from 8 to 10, and 95.5 for stepping up to the plate and promoting this. We're going to be doing some live feeds to the radio station, and I just want you guys to express yourself. And let me kind of tell you the rules, so everybody kind of know what the rules are going to be. I don't mind everybody having an opinion. I don't mind you being emotional. Just be respectful. That's all I ask you, be respectful. I can disagree and you can disagree with me or my philosophies or my ideologies or whatever you want to call it, but be respectful to the people that's up here, because they didn't have to be here. They really didn't. It's nothing that made them come but their hearts and want to make a change. And the beauty of this, folks, I'm going to introduce each one, let them introduce themselves and talk about themselves. But the thing that I appreciated about it is this. We got this ain't the same group of folks that you've been dealing with. This ain't the same group. So that means what we're going to do is going to give them a chance. We're going to give them a chance to fail to succeed. We can't make them fail to succeed. Let's give them a chance to do whatever they say they're going to do and then hold them accountable. That's what this is all about. So what I'm going to do, since we got one lady up here, I'm going to be a gentleman. And I'm going to let her introduce herself, and she's going to tell you her role of what she is and what she does here. And I'm going to go and I'm going to pass the mic accordingly to the folks. So I'm going to start right here.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
My name is Kim Gardner. I'm the elected circuit attorney for the city of St. Louis. And I'm charged with prosecuting cases in the city of St. Louis in violation of laws in the state of Missouri.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Jeff Jensen. I'm the United States Attorney for the Eastern District of Missouri. So essentially, I'm in charge of all the federal prosecutors in the eastern half of Missouri. Technically, I'm in charge of the federal law enforcement, but Fred Winston's here, the new head of the ATF. He might disagree with that. I'm not sure he agrees that I'm in charge of that. But we're doing a lot of things differently. We're all new. We're working together. What we've been doing has not been working. We understand that. It has not been working. We can't arrest, we can't prosecute our way out of this problem. We just can't do it. It's an important part of the problem. We've got to get after it, and we've got to go and prosecute people that are committing violent crimes and slinging drugs. We've got to get them off the street. But at the same time, we've got to build up these neighborhoods. And that's why we appreciate working with people like DJ, and I thank you, DJ, for having us. And, we're up here, we're the last responders to a problem. It starts with parents and schools and people like the Demetrious Johnson Foundation. You've got a lot of other people out there doing very similar things, and we appreciate that. But getting jobs for young African-American males coming out of high school and women, that's more important than what we do. But what we do is an important part, and we're going to aggressively prosecute people for committing violent crimes and drug crimes.
My name is John Hayden. I'm the newly appointed Commissioner of Police, and thank you. Thank you very much. And so, prior to becoming the Chief of Police, I was the commander of the North Patrol Division, where much of our violent crime occurs. In fact, 67% of the homicides from last year occurred in just 2 districts over which I oversaw. So 67% of the homicides and 50% of all violent crime happens in just those 2 districts. And so, having been there, I realized that most of that crime, it's not the whole of North St. Louis, but a rectangle that I've identified between Goodfellow and Vanderveer, Dr. King, and West Florissant is the most violent area within those 2 districts. And what I plan to do as far as prevention is have my supplemental resources flood that area, saturate that area, so we'll be more likely to encounter a lot of our violent offenders. So it's just a simple math exercise in that the probability of interacting more often with our most violent folks is by putting resources where most of that violent crime occurs. The second half of that is community engagement, and I'm gonna let my friend and comrade, Lieutenant Colonel Ronnie Robertson, talk about that when he gets a chance. So it's 2-part. 1, enforcement, second half, community engagement. I'm gonna let Ronnie speak about that when he gets the microphone. Thank you.
Let me first thank Demetrious Johnson. DJ, thank you so very much for your leadership with respect to this panel. My name is Jimmie Edwards. I have left the back end of this process to get on the front end. For 25 years, I was a judge in the city of St. Louis. And now I am the public safety director. As I see my job, my job is to make sure that I establish the right environment within our police department to make sure that our police officers are doing the things that they need to do. We're gonna change policing in the city of St. Louis. We're gonna have more equitable policing in the city of St. Louis. I expect that every corner of our city will be policed equally. More importantly, I expect that our officers will be culturally competent. That means that they need to understand who they're policing and make sure that every single day they find a way to have a positive encounter with the people that they are policing. You know, we have this rectangle you've probably heard a lot about. We're very, very concerned about making sure that we address the issues that are occurring in North St. Louis, the murders, the drug use, and the assaults. But we also have to be very careful that we don't over-police in these areas. So we want to make sure that that those folk that are problems in our community, that we address those problems, we root those people out. Just as I intend to root out police officers that are problematic on the police department. I appreciate all the folk that are here. I especially appreciate our federal partner. Jeff Jenson, the U.S. Attorney, has done a terrific job. We're now working in a collaborative way for the very first time, where the feds are working with the states, St. Louis County working with St. Louis City, East St. Louis working with St. Louis City, because, you know, crime doesn't stop at Skinker. And so what we have to do is we have to do a better job of public safety. But it gives me an opportunity to tell you that you have to do a better job with public safety, which means that if you are a victim of a crime, you need to let us know. And if you know a crook, you need to tell us. If you know who committed a crime, you need to share that with us, because we're all in this together. It doesn't matter whether Chief Hayden is a police chief or Judge Edwards is a public safety director. Unless you step up, we're going to fail.
I don't know what to say behind Director Edwards. I mean, he said it all. I'm Fred Winston. I'm the Assistant Special Agent in Charge with ATF here in St. Louis. I've only been here since November. I'm a 27-year law enforcement veteran. I did 10 and a half years with Memphis, and I've been with ATF now for 16 and a half years. My main priority is St. Louis. I'm responsible for all of eastern Missouri and the whole state of Kansas, but honestly, my problem area is your problem area. is right here in St. Louis. I mean, and what they've been saying is the truth. I mean, we can't do it without you. We need you all to step up to help us. We'll do our end. We'll do what we can to help rid the city of violent people. We're not trying to arrest everybody. We're trying to get the problem people off the streets. And we're here, and that's what we're here. We have a federal partnership with the locals, and it's one law enforcement community, and we're going to try to do it, and we need your help too.
And let me say this. I'm going to have these guys just to introduce themselves, their names, but I'm not going to get into particulars with them until we'll come back to them, because they're special to me. They're very special. So I'm going to just let them introduce themselves, then we're going to come back, and we're going to do something a little different. You know how in the past, you know, we sit up here and we say all the things we want to say, and you guys listen. What we're going to do today, and they don't even know this, we're going to listen too. We're going to let you guys, is Sonny Metcalf here with the mics, the guys out there with our mics, right? Who's got our mics?
Right.
All right. We got 2 mics. You can stand up, you raise your hand, they're going to come and give you the mic, and we're going to let you guys ask the questions. Because the problem we have, folks, is this. And I'll let you know when you're ready to go. The problem we have, nobody listened to you. They want to tell you what your problems are. Today we're going to listen and let you tell us what you think, what your problems are, and let them listen, and then we're going to respond accordingly. Go ahead, Darren.
My name is Darren Seals. I'm CEO of 1,000 Thugs.
My name is Jonny Granderson, and I've been with the Demetrious Johnson Charitable Foundation for about 15 years.
So what we're going to do now, I got my mic, guys. Raise your hand if you want to ask questions. All right, let's go down here, right here. Oh, he's already up? Oh, we got one? Oh, no, I'm not going to introduce him. No, I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why. And this is for real. I'm not going to introduce him yet. I'm going to let you ask a question. But then I'm going to introduce him when I need to introduce him. Because first of all, he's one of my best friends in the world. That's my brother. Don't think that I overlooked him, because I love him. So now this is all plan, man. Let's go to my plan. Don't raise your hand like that, okay? All right, we got a question first out here. All right, my mic guys, come on over here. Stand up.
Hello. My name is Zachary Keys, and there's something that my grandson said to me the other day. He's 4 years old, and he asked me, he said, they call me Papa, what is it to be brave? And I'm talking to a 4-year-old, keep that in mind. Because he sees the news just like we do, and they see it in a different perspective. And I told him, I said, being brave is doing something when you know something is clearly wrong. The way I explained it to this 4-year-old person was, it's like playing with matches. You know that's wrong. He said, right, Pa. So if you see another little kid playing with matches, what do? Tell you, Pa? I said, that's right, and that's being brave. Brave is taking a chance on doing something, though it might not be clearly right, but you know you got to do something because something is clearly wrong. Now, I want to address the meaningless killing in our streets. And there are a lot of victims amongst us. Now think about the people that perpetrate those crimes. Be it the drugs, yada, yada. I'm gonna want your card, federal prosecutor. But long story short, I look at the disparities in our community, and I get all around this state. When I go out west, I'm talking about those trillions of dollars and billions of dollars that they're doing in construction work throughout the region. And you see it, I see it, and it's clearly wrong because none of us in any significant numbers in this city is doing it. See, I see Arnold in the city, I see Wentzville in the city, I see St. Charles in the city, but the city's not out in St. Charles. Not black people, but St. Charles, Wentzville are all up in our mix. And I say this, and I'm gonna pass this mic. The unions know it, the developers know it, you know it because you see it too. When you give these people some meaningful work, some meaningful pay, I guarantee you it'll be the gun buyback.
Go ahead, Kim.
Well, I'm hearing your question, and it's a good question about how do we bring opportunity back to our city. First day when I became the circuit attorney for the city of St. Louis, My vision for the office has been about harm reduction, about giving people hope. So that's why I really stressed and focused on working with people like the police chief and Lieutenant Colonel Ronnie Robinson, and how do we address violent crime? But we have to address the hopelessness in our communities. Because what I hear and I see every day is that young people are hopeless. They're in situations where their back's against the wall. And so it's our job to be not only tough on violent crime, but we have to be smart on crime. And that means saving people. So I think that as a prosecutor, my job is to reduce harm by giving people opportunities. And that's why I focused on diversion programs from day one. I focused on young offenders from 17 to 25. That's that most critical age range where they're more likely to be victims of crime as well as perpetrators of crime. Giving them opportunities, trying to give them skills and give them viable employment, help their families, look at trauma, how trauma affects all of us, and how we engender trust in the criminal justice system. By building trust, we have to earn trust. We have to go out into the community, not when something happens, but before something happens. And that's what my office has been doing since day one when I took this office. And I look forward to working with each and every one of you, because it's gonna take a lot of input from the community as well as help.
Thank you. I agree and concur with our circuit attorney 100%. We're going to have to do something differently, and we're going to have to help the folk that are in our community. But I want to compliment your 4-year-old grandson, because you do have to be brave in order to do this job. That means that we have to change the narrative. The narrative for a long time has been snitches get stitches. But you know what? We're going to have to change that narrative and be about it. If you see something, you need to say something. You know what happens is that I get blown away every day. Every time there's a shooting in the city of St. Louis, I get a text. Every time there's a murder in the city of St. Louis, I get a text. The chief and I, we were sitting at a forum just an hour ago. In that forum, I got 2 texts. On Dr. Martin Luther King and Goodfellow, 4 people shot. I mean, so this is pretty. This is problematic for me. I mean, it's problematic for me when we know who the shooters are in our community, but we don't say anything. And the only time we say something is that they shoot somebody that we love. And so what we have to do is we have to take our community back. And we take our community back by being brave. So your grandson was right. You have to be brave to do this, and I appreciate him.
Yeah, well, Judge, let me now bring in, I wanted to bring him in. I wanted to hear the first question, bring my good friend, Colonel Robinson. At one time, you had this unit of guys going out in the community and doing a lot of intel prior to crimes being committed. And your philosophy had always been we can't arrest our way out of it. What is your thought about now? Because have the chief, have they allowed you to get your unit back, to get the undercover work going? I mean, tell the community, first of all, tell them who you are and what your responsibility is going to be, because that's interesting. If you don't know the street, how can you deal with the streets?
Good evening. Hey, I want to commend everybody for being in the room tonight. It's just an awesome opportunity to get to talk to you in this manner, and you guys be able to dialogue with each other. I'm Lieutenant Colonel Ronnie Robinson. I'm the Deputy Chief of Police with the City of St. Louis, and I'm proud to say I work for a new chief that gets the picture. Proud to say that. I have always been an advocate of a holistic approach to policing relative to intervention, outreach, and enforcement, and precision enforcement. You can't take a broad brush and paint the community, especially the most dangerous communities, and treat everybody like a criminal. You have to be professional enough to identify the individuals that have no disregard for law at all, and then you have to focus on enforcement with those individuals and remove them from the community. But those kids and those young individuals that are salvageable, that get caught up in the culture and get caught up in peer pressure and get caught up in everyday living in the communities that they grow up in, fighting for survival sometimes from the time they come out of their mother's womb. just to walk from one block to another block and have on the wrong color clothes, you could lose your life. Or have a confrontation with someone, you could lose your life. As a police officer, you have to have empathy for that. You have to see the big picture. You have to try to convince those young men that there's another way out other than violence. And right now, we're at a bottom in our city. This is a crucial moment for our future. And we have to come together, as the judge has said. And let me say this about the judge. I've been working with him now for over 25 years, and when I had the unit that Demetrious talks about, the gang unit, he was a very vital part to our success. We were his eyes and ears when he was the judge in charge of the juvenile court system, and he relied on our ability to bring him the individuals that were definitely involved in violent crime, because he always wants to save a child's life. But we would tell this judge, hey, this kid needs to be removed either for the safety of the community or for the safety for his life. He needs to be separated for a minute from the community to see if we can sit this kid down and talk to him, make him take a break and think about his actions. Judge Edwards and Chief Hayden have vowed to give me manpower relative to recreating that unit and the manpower to get it done, because let me tell you what that unit does. What we need in the community are police officers that are strong in community relations and the ability to communicate and talk to people, and that have empathy for people, but that will definitely let those individuals know what they will and will not tolerate. Respect, in order to get it, you have to give it. And from the communities in which they come up in are very hard and there's a lot of pressure on these young individuals to just to survive. I don't know of any other race where young kids have so much pressure to be tough and mean and protect themselves and watch their back every day and every night. I don't know of anybody else that lives like that. That's pressure. Policemen have to understand that and treat people with respect in order to get it. And the new chief, he gets it. He and I have conversations consistently in the past about what we need to do as far as intervention is concerned in the bureau that I'm in charge of. It's community engagement, focusing on intervention and the development of young people. We're making a heavy investment in the young people in our community, and we're also focusing on the most dangerous individuals at the same time that have the high propensity of being involved in violent crime, interacting with them every day to learn their movement, track their growth, find out how they make their money, where they sleep, who they involved with, their associates. You need policemen that have the talent to develop relationships with those people. And there's a young gentleman sitting at this table tonight. He'll talk about that and what effect that had on his life when we were back there doing some of the things and some of the strategies that we were doing. So I welcome this opportunity.
Well, let me ask a question. Chief Hayden, the police department has been just in disarray in terms of racial relationships. How have you been received as a black chief in a very some racist situations in that police department? You have two unions. You have the black union and the white union, and you're talking about harmony. Explain to us what is harmony.
Interestingly enough, I've actually met with the African American, the Ethical Society. I've met with them twice already, and when we leave here, we're going to go to the predominantly white organization, the St. Louis Police Officers Association. Interestingly enough, I've been a member of both for 30 years, and so part of the way in which you reach everybody is the relationship building that I've done in those 30 years, and so I believe that I think the question is, how have I been received? I think I'm pretty well received on both. But hey, as you all know, as time progresses, we're going to really see who's behind, who supports me, and who's going to who's going to give me some issues. But hey, 5 of my years I spent training at the academy. So when I trained at the academy, approximately 500 people went through there at that time. Many of those persons are captains, lieutenants, and sergeants now. And so that does give me an advantage in relationship building already. In other words, when you're in the academy, there's a mentor-mentee relationship that's automatically built. And so I do have the relationships with black and white officers to be successful. But the real question is going to be how they perceive my decisions, and when they agree or disagree, how they're going to, you know, are they going to work against me? Are they going to support me? Those are the kind of things that'll really test those relationships. But I think I have the premise of being able to be very successful under the circumstances.
You know, when I had the opportunity to select Chief Hayden, the question was, what type of police chief did I want? And I wanted the very best chief that I can find. And so I feel very comfortable with that. And so I took that message to every police officer in the city of St. Louis. I attended every single roll call in the city of St. Louis with every officer as early as 6 o'clock in the morning, as late as midnight. And the conversation, one of the conversations that I had with them is that we are one police department. I understand all the racial animus, and we're going to have to eradicate that. I understand the things that are occurring on social media. We're going to stop that. And so I recognize that we have some racial issues within our police department. I also recognize that there's some people on our police department that ought not be police. But I also recognize that we have a very good police department. We have good law enforcement folk that are working with us. And so I'm not naive enough to believe that everything is all okay. I know there are some things that I have to fix, and I know some of those things are competency, cultural competency, and racism. Those are things that we have to fix, as well as the implicit bias that also so spills onto African American officers. And so some of them don't need to be there as well. And so these are things that I have to fix.
All right, thanks, Judge. Let me go and Fred with ATF. Guns. The accessibility to guns today just too easy. It's like going and buying a bag of chips at the store. What is your role? You're saying you're going to come and bring resources here. Explain to these people what kind of resources and what are you going to do with this easy availability of guns?
Well, what people have to understand with ATF, we're a federal law enforcement agency, and here in the state of Missouri, and it's surprising to me, if you're not prohibited, anybody can have a gun. You can carry a gun. You can do what you want to with your gun. And I went to the store the other day, and there was a young man standing outside with a gun on his hip, and I made sure I sidestepped him twice because I didn't know, is he a criminal or is he just a guy with a gun? So it's kind of hard, to be honest, because we have to assess whether or not John Doe walking down the street with a gun, is he prohibited? Is he prohibited from having a firearm, or is he lawfully carrying his gun? So we have to do a lot of research on the back end. But to answer your question, we are targeting the violent people with firearms. We are trying to make an effort to get in those areas where we have those criminals that are doing shootings with guns. Not just people with guns, but those that are actually committing crimes with firearms.
Well, let me ask you a question on this then. We know in some of these small convenience stores that guns are being sold at a rapid pace, but nothing has been done. The stores are not closed down. The guns are still being sold. Kids are still dying. Our community is in arms. So how do you address that?
Let me know where they are. Let me know where they are. Like we said, I've been here 3 months. We have a strong partnership with the police department, the FBI, and DEA. I mean, let us know. Let us know. You said keep it real, right?
Yeah, no doubt.
Okay.
Keep it 100.
Keep it 100.
There you go.
Not 100, 100.
Yeah.
The judge mentioned something about snitches get stitches. Where I come from, I heard the same mantra. But my thing is, if me and you are doing something together, and I get caught, and I tell the police what you're doing, that's snitching. If you're in my neighborhood and you're doing something wrong, and I say, whoa, that's wrong, that's not snitching, that's taking care of your neighborhood. We need everybody to step up and take care of their neighborhoods. Let us know. These stores you're saying selling these guns, let it be known. Let it be known. I promise you, that's one of our big things right there. Somebody's selling guns to all these kids, and I say kids, killing other kids. If we know about it, we can do something about it. I mean, honestly, the police we can't be everywhere. We're going to be realistic about it. We can't be everywhere. If we get that phone call, that anonymous tip, or somebody stand up saying, hey, right there, we'll be there 100.
All right, I appreciate it. Thanks. Kim, it was a ruling the other day about your power almost being neglected in terms of minimizing police shooting and you having the ability to intervene with police officers shooting. How is that going to affect you doing your job when a police officer, when some of our family members out here know that there are some bad police officers and there's some great ones? But the bad ones are committing crimes, but your hands are tied. If there's a shooting, you can't do anything. Explain that.
Well, first of all, I can't get into specifics of the ruling that we're appealing right now. But in general, we talk about building trust in the community, and we talk about how we can stop violent crime. As the only elected official up here, the police commissioner is appointed. The public safety director is appointed by the mayor. The U.S. attorney is appointed by Sessions, unfortunately, no, but he's a good guy. That's a joke. But I am the only elected official charged with public safety. What that means is I'm accountable. I'm accountable for individuals regardless of your station in life, regardless of your occupation, to look at cases, and if there are criminal charges, that is my duty. And right now, when we talk about holding individuals accountable, I ask, why is the police different? Are they? What do you think? So my job in these cases, and this is not to point fingers at anybody, but we have to do a better job in terms of how law enforcement, when there are issues that we have officer-involved shooting cases, and we have issue where I have to, as my duty as the elected prosecutor, to review these cases. That's my job. So what we're doing is we're basically being challenged by the police union. And they're basically questioning whether I have a conflict in these cases. And I ask the same thing, is it a conflict to police yourself and investigate yourself in these cases? So when we want to talk about real issues, let's talk about, when we talk about engendering trust, when we talk about being accountable, I'm accountable for these things. And we talk about the issues of, I hear people talking about special prosecutors, we talk about those topics, but let's talk about an independent investigation. The same arguments that I heard around Mike Brown era and the issues of Mike Brown, the police union were not for special prosecutors. But why is it now that they're for special prosecutors when I'm Kim Gardner, the circuit attorney of the city of St. Louis? What's the difference between me and Bob McCullough? So when you want to ask yourself the real questions and talk about the real issues, then we have to talk about the real discussions. And the real discussions is I'm accountable, no one else. St. Louis County in Ferguson is one municipality out of many. St. Louis City is St. Louis City, and there's one police department and one elected circuit attorney, which is me. So let me do my job, and let's have real discussion about holding anyone accountable who's gonna break the laws under the state of Missouri, and let me do my job, and my job is to be fair. I cannot guarantee an outcome, but it's to be fair and unbiased, and I'm trying to do my job. And so when you hear these discussions, you need to ask these questions, and it's not an indictment on anybody up here, but we have to look at the real issues and ask yourself, what is all this about? So I stand on holding people accountable. I look at cases, and like I said, no one, even police, are above the law. That's my job.
Thank you, Kim. And I'm going to go over to Jeff Jensen, who's a good friend of mine. He's the U.S. attorney. Jeff, now what is your responsibility? All this crime is going on. What is your responsibility? What role do you play in all this?
What we can do on the federal side is we can prosecute cases that are federal violations. We can't prosecute murder. We can't prosecute armed robbery. There's some things we can't prosecute, but where we can make a difference is in prosecuting people who are dealing drugs, doing carjackings, robbing businesses, felons who are walking around with a loaded firearm. That's where we can make a difference, and we're dramatically increasing the number of prosecutions, especially in the Chief's rectangle. If we find violent criminals in that rectangle, then we're prosecuting those people. I also work very closely with Kim Gardner, her office and my office, we go through, her people and my people go through every single police report in the city, and we decide where the case should be prosecuted. Sometimes we work together, and it just kind of depends on where the case we think it should land. We have some advantages in the federal system, that we have more resources for probation and reducing recidivism. So in the federal system, the recidivism rate is it's about 7%. So that's really low compared to national averages of 77 to 80%. It's about 1/10 of the recidivism as the national average. And the way they do it is they give people respect when they come out of prison, and they get them a good job. So we go around and we meet with employers. DJ and I've met with many, and we make sure that they're willing, or we see if they're willing to hire people coming out of federal prison and give them a job like a carpenter, being trained with the Carpenters Union, a welder, a commercial driver's license, a certified nurse assistant. The federal system has the resources to do that. But again, we can't prosecute all the different crimes that are out there.
Well, let's go back in audience. Anybody have questions on the audience? Where's my guys at? All right, let's come over here,
Hold
right?
on. I had the mic next, Mr. Johnson.
Oh,
No, I'm
where you at?
over to the left. And since
Oh,
Mr.
there you go.
Hayden,
Go ahead, I got you.
I'd like to say hello to all you all.
Hello.
Hey, Mr. ATF, sir, you said a community has to hold people accountable. Well, today, I'd like to welcome all y'all. Y'all in our neighborhood, and we got a lot of people here. You say do something different. I hear a lot of y'all talk about do something different, but y'all give resources to the same people that's hurting us, and they say something is better than nothing. All I'm saying, people who say that, they have something. And the people who they helping, they want to give you a $7 an hour job. How can you make an impact when you have the for sale all study, when you had a commission report, and these same people keep getting the same money to do the same thing. They're not doing anything innovative. And what do they do? The same kids they say they help them. The same kids that come in front of Judge Edwards, that comes in front of Kim Gardner's office, but nobody holds those people accountable. You know, I ain't gonna bring up nobody's name. Somebody got $52 million in the last 5 years, and the disparities north of Delmar are at an all-time rate. Everybody keep getting the same thing, the same players. When would this stop?
Okay, hold on. Hey, my man, thank you for, you say somebody got, you take that mic from him, because that mic is, I don't know, we probably have to change our mics for him. Kareem, make sure we get a new mic. So you saying somebody got $52 million? Yes,
It's public information.
But just tell us who it is then. $52 million? Wow. Hold on.
They got $52 million over a 5-year period. And what has happened? You know, we got a lot of, I call them predatory non-for-profits. Because they prey on us, and they tell us that we shouldn't mess with the guys that you all prosecute. But the guys you all prosecute are those that offer an opportunity to thrive. When I can go right here on Arlington, Kensington, Cabney, and make $1,500 an hour, when I'm gonna go somewhere with some white people or some black people, say we're gonna give you some resume training, and you're gonna come out with a job $9 an hour. That's not helping me when I got child support on me. They're gonna take that's my own problem I made. And I do have to be accountable by being a father, but you can't tell me you're here to help me when you offer me a job. When someone up here said we got opportunity to, like the NGA project, to train people, and we got a new state statute that went in effect that say expungement law. Ain't nobody talking about this. Ain't nobody trying to help these guys who've been selling drugs and had no opportunity. I ask you all, what can the community do to help stop this? Because we got, as we hear today, it's about violence. You know, you have people, you're creating trauma. You got trauma from those that live by you. You have trauma from the police that come in with you. And all this can be backed up through a SAMHSA report because it's called a disaster assistance. It came out in 2017, and we were a part of something called mass violence. You know, we don't have no national disaster. 5 murders, that qualifies as.
Okay, my man. Okay, we appreciate it. Thank you very much for your question. All right, did you want to address that?
I mean, to address part of your statement, because I honestly didn't get a question out of it, it's still, we can't do it all. I don't know about the $52 million, but still, where does the self-accountability come in? I mean, you're saying that you can go on the corner and make, I forgot how much money you said, in an hour. You can make $1,500 an hour. I don't make $1,500 an hour, but it's choices you have to make. You have to know whether, okay, you want to make your $1,500 an hour and you got to deal with the police, the bad guy coming to get you, or you want to get you a good job and try to make it. Nobody said it was going to be easy. Nobody said it was going to be easy. Prime example, honestly, today in my building, I'm in the, Ray A. Young or Roy A. Young building? Robert A. Young building. They were having a job fair for people, and honestly, I saw our people coming out. You got a job, half dressed, on the phones. I mean, nobody said you had to have anything, but take pride in what you do have and take a chance. When somebody offers you that opportunity, you got to step up. No, like I said, nobody said it was going to be easy, but you got to have self-accountability.
All right, Kim?
So that was a good question. Just to kind of go through the things that I'm responsible for. Day one, when I was elected to this office, we looked at diversion. Diversion is basically the prosecutor-led diversion, which has never been done in the city before, which means we're not only just looking at people who are going into the system, we're trying to stop people from going in further into the system. So for example, day one, we had young people I saw going in and out of the system, like you said. People get probation and doing life sentences. What are they gonna do? They're not gonna be able to get opportunities. And I just wanna tell you, there's no expungement laws in this state. It's called a seal law. We changed our expungement laws recently, but they're not true expungement laws. So what I did as a prosecutor, I looked at how we can make people safe, reduce harm, by creating these prosecutor-led diversion programs, working with Slate, not just talking about training, because I got on people about we gonna train somebody. We need to give people employment to keep people out the system. So I personally created programs that these young people are getting jobs, and if you get a job, you do community service, and then guess what? I will dismiss your case. This is not putting you in the system. And we're also helping people before they go into the system because we help their family. We deal with trauma. So when you talk about programs, we're not doing the same thing, expecting a different result. We're actually creating new prosecutor-led diversion programs to address the very things you're talking about. And I didn't get $52 million. I got money, zero money, and I'm trying to create these programs. So I need people, I always ask for more money, so I don't have $52 million, but I'm looking for community partners who are really about helping me keep people out the system, because that's the key in harm reduction.
All right, Judge?
Hey, see, I see my guy out here on the front row, Representative Bruce Frank. See, he always talking about walking the walk. So let me tell you how you walk the walk. Back in 2009, I got tired of sending black boys to jail. So I opened a school. That school still exists. I'm still responsible for that school. And so nobody gave me $52 million. I just decided it was the right thing to do. So we can talk the talk. How many people walking the walk?
All right, let me do this. Let me go down now and introduce you to this gentleman here. Tell him who you are and what you do.
My name, I got to stand up, y'all. I always stand up. My name is Darren Seals. I'm guilty. Ran the streets my whole life. I thought selling dope and being with the bad crowd was the lick. Been shot 4 different times. You couldn't stop me. And brother, I understand the 1,500, but the best thing about it is you make the money, but how long do it last? Come and go. I watched it. I got over 205 friends gone. Can't tell them to sit back. And right now, I'm nervous. Can I keep it 100, D? I'm nervous as hell because 10 years ago, they probably would have been looking for me. I'm off the north side. That's all I thought about, being a millionaire. $52 million, that's their thing. We got to make the right choices. Not in my lifetime. I got a 13-month-old daughter. I'm looking out for her now, so I had to stop and regroup. And I tell all my brothers, I go, my guys right here, my thing is, just because you catch a felony, it's still life after felony. That box that Jimmie, eventually is gonna fade away. I did everything. I became a chemist. I worked at Bank of America, and I was in the military. If you know what I'm saying, when I mean that. Since you're making 15, you know what I'm talking about. But right now, 48 years old, never had a job. I did the same thing. But the outcome, me getting shot up, nervous every time somebody pop a firecracker, I'm running. I don't have to do that no more. I don't know who it was, but I know it's somebody looked out for me. I don't know who it is, it's somebody up here, but I got a job right now. Make big money now. $20 an hour. Supervisor.
That's what I'm talking about.
I never go back on that. The only issues I have that's out here is the killings. I'm knocking on doors every day for my partners to get jobs. Can we get the felonies off of us? We got to take that and regroup ourselves. They only can do what they gonna do. You know the code in the street is, we ain't gonna tell them nothing. But then as soon as we get caught up, like this thing I told the guy, I hate the police. But as soon as you get shot, who's the first person you call? But we hate them. I learned to grow Ronnie Robinson and change my whole thought of everything. So you just got to get to know different folks, y'all. And I just want everybody to understand where I come from. I should have been dead in 1985. Had a bullet hit me right here in my face, and I want Miss Carla May. Can you stand up, Miss Carla May? Miss Carla May. She dropped me off at the spot. That's my childhood friend. She always used to pray for me. So look at me now, you all. I'm on a panel with some, I call them big tickets. I tell my mom 2 weeks ago, my mama said, I'm proud of you. But we got to change, y'all. To everybody that's out there, so you all know my organization is 1,000 Thugs. It's True Help Under God's Salvation Ministries. Every day I go and speak up in the schools, and I try to tell them, we got to get it together. But it's choices. Come down to the right choice, bro.
Let's go back out here to the audience. You got a question?
Hollins, and I'm a retired firefighter for the city of St. Louis. And right after Mike Brown's death, a group of us put together a mentoring program because we were going to meetings and marching, and we said, okay, let's do something among ourselves that we can jump right off. So what we did was we put together a mentoring program. It's 2.5 months of life skill training. And with that initiative, the first initiative was called Man in the Mirror Suits and Ties, for young men 12 to 18 years old, around Mike Brown's age, because we were there seeing everything that was going on. So after we've graduated several men's groups, the women on our board said, what about the ladies? So we put together a program called Dressing God's Glory. Now out of that, the entire program is called GRACE, and it stands for Giving Resources Among Children Everywhere. Now, like I said, from a firefighter point of view, our job is to go in and solve a problem, handle situations. So what I'm throwing back at you is being proactive, the holistic approach, Colonel, that you had mentioned. And Brother Al, can you stand up, brother? He's retired as well. He's a retired educator. And I don't know if any other members are here, but what's happening is that Sister Avis, Brother Wade, and a few others that I've met here, Brother Wade, police officer, Avis, Habitat for Humanity. Now, with that, we've noticed that the real estate market north of Del Mar is not the way it should be. We've allowed it to get this way, and you have an environment that creates certain things along with the families. Now, I'm talking about being proactive. Since I've been here, I've met about 4 mentoring groups, people who want to give back. We're willing to give our time, our resources, our skill sets, and our unique abilities to go work with you all, because we know the school system is not, I'm gonna wrap it up, DJ.
There you go, big dog.
But Judge Edwards, I went to your school, and you told me to go there. We went there, met the director, because they liked our program. So we're about to start and jump into some schools, the county schools as well as the city schools. So I would suggest all of us who have some resources and some skills to connect up, and you all just accept what we have to offer. But you got to listen to us, like we said, because we got some stuff. And I trust.
Thanks, man.
All right.
Hey, give her the mic for me right here. Moni, get her ready. My man, come up here. Give her the mic in the black right here. There you go.
How you doing? I probably really don't need this microphone because y'all know I got a big mouth. I'm Jerome. I'm the mother of the young man that was missing for 15 months who was found on the side of the first student, right next to first student, where everybody get up and drive and start them buses. My thing is, my anxiety level is real high today because I know you all watched the news and it was a young white girl that went missing. And while I watched them look for her, I saw helicopters and I saw people out in the landfills looking for her, and in 9 days they found her. Where I had to go downtown to the police department almost every day and beg somebody, and it took them 5 months to ping my son's phone. I heard from the police department about other people cases, and my son just must be running from the police. My son is not here, but my goal now is to make sure that other young black men don't come up missing and we forget about them. You get a call every day when it's a homicide. My Facebook account now is a missing persons account because every time a person go missing, they're contacting me at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. My concern is St. Louis City does not have a missing person unit for adults. My concern is the fugitive department is the ones that handle the missing persons unit. My concern is if your child go missing after 5 o'clock, your child's just missing to the next day. God forbid if it's on the weekend, because they don't work nothing but Monday through Friday. I've went down there and told them I work with Krista Ferguson mom, Theda Wilson. I work with Monica Sykes' mom. I work with other mothers that is willing to give their time out. We go out here and look for these kids. But when we see that our children are not getting looked for because they're young black kids, it hurts. Like my anxiety level is really, really bad right now because I watched that and just to see how they look for her, and I'm glad that they found her. But what about us? What can we do for us? Why our kids are not valued at the same rate that Caucasian kids are? And it's sad because when we looked at the stats, it's like white child, white woman, white man, black child, black woman. The black man was the last on the totem pole. So when I go out and speak now, the first thing I say is that I didn't understand how hard it was for a young black man in St. Louis because I never dealt with that or didn't understand. I understood it now because he couldn't get no help if I couldn't get no help. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. Young black men out here, and I was at fault of, oh, you could do this, you got it. But when I went out trying to get help for him because he was a young black man, I couldn't get help.
Yes, ma'am.
So it's hard for them to get help now as young black men. We have another person, her friend, baby was in Alton at the same place almost that the little white girl came up missing, no helicopters, nobody looked for him, and we still giving the same runaround. I thank you for removing Mchugh. I really thank you. That was a blessing, whoever removed her, because that wasn't her position. She needed another position, write tickets or something, whatever.
So ma'am,
let him answer that.
Yeah,
So thank you very much.
Just to address that, so there are actually two different issues. So if you recall, whenever there's a child missing, we comb the area in much in a similar way. I think you can think about the young lady that was found over in Kingsway West area last year. I mean, we had people out there in the cold knocking on, going in vacant buildings looking for that young lady. We did find her. In fact, had we not gotten to her, within a short period of time, the elements would have caused it to be. Yes, ma'am. So I'm just saying. So in the city, and we do have access to the same helicopter system. Of course, when you talk about helicopters, you're talking about covering large open fields and that type of thing. But I think that our commitment to looking for youth is the same. Like I said, we get a call on a regular basis about a kid missing, and usually oftentimes within a couple hours, when it's somebody that's 12, 13 years old, and we've talked to the parents and we've talked to the friends, we usually can find somebody. What the difference is, and you do bring up rightfully about adults or young adults and our fugitives. So and that's because when children are the difference is that oftentimes the adults, there is some path or some story or something that, as an adult can make a decision not to come home, or an adult can make a decision that I'm not going to, I decide to go with a friend or spend the night with a friend. It's a little different when a child is wandering around or a child is lost. So it's a little different. So there is a different approach. But I certainly am committed to doing a better job to make sure that everybody that's missing, that we do the proper investigation and make sure that they're found.
I'd like to piggyback on that, Chief. Also,
Hey, Ronnie, can I just?
Yes, sir, go ahead.
I just want to apologize to all of you. We're going to have to leave. I'm going to my 7th meeting today. He's going to his 3rd meeting today, and we committed to be here, and we were just leaving another meeting. So I really apologize. It's certainly a pleasure to be here, and hopefully we've imparted some information. Thank you for what you had to say. It resonated with me, and we'll see if we can do better.
Go ahead. You got something to say? If you're going to say it now, you want to say it, but why don't you go ahead and do it?
And we are in pain. First and foremost, I want to thank you for sending your homicide police officers out there to us. I was in a state of shock for a minute because they were white homicide police officers. But the shock wave neutralized and it became one family. But we want some answers. We want some kind of answers. The family are in pain. I would like for the sisters to stand up. These sisters are hurting. Well, now, thank you. So I'm here appealing to you, Chief. I'm here to appeal to you, Judge, once again.
Well, Cleo, I certainly appreciate it. You and I talked about this morning, and I certainly gave you my commitment with respect to the police officers working very diligently. There are some things going on. One of those things is that we have to make sure that maybe that 4th person that was in that house will give us some information. So, I mean, we know what's going on, and we're working very diligently. And I spoke with you. I'm a little surprised that you're asking me this.
Oh, I'm shocked at the information you just gave me. I feel much better. I didn't have that information. So in as much as you're shocked, now that you mentioned that first person, that's new information. So I feel good, much better than before I took this mic.
All right, thank you. So we have to go.
Thank you. May I say this? This is the best and professional front line that the African American community is going to get. This is the best of the best. And I want to thank you, and I appreciate you. I appreciate you, Brother Demetrious Johnson, with your black self. I worked for a long time with your mother, and this is real stock. Before I sit down, I want to say this. The federal government clearly stipulate distress areas. North St. Louis is a distress area. It is the guideline. It meets the criteria of federal dollars to come into the city of St. Louis. Billions of dollars came into the city of St. Louis because North St. Louis is the distress area. Those billions of dollars come into the St. Louis, North St. Louis maintained as a distress areas. Those dollars are going to the Central Corridor, South St. Louis, and downtown, and maintain North St. Louis as a distress area. distress area. Stress kills. So you put us, they put us in an abnormal condition and try to force us to act normal. I want to say, in closing, that Civic Progress, the Regional Commerce and Growth Association, utilize our tax dollars to create jobs with our money and give it to East-West Gateway and make sure they coordinate that money out of North St. Louis. So I'm hoping, brother DJ, bring them to the table. They're taking our money in several ways. They are taking our money through tax dollars in terms of development. Each 35% of all of the dollars that they spent supposed to come to the African American community in several areas. They are ripping us, stripping us, and pimping us, DJ. Bring them to the table and let us question them. Thank you, my brother.
Thank you. Colonel.
I wanted to add a comment relative to the young lady who was talking about the children missing. Matter of fact, the commander of the juvenile division, and he got promoted to captain. He works in the Bureau of Community Engagement and Community Affairs. He's in this room now, and I know for a fact when he was the commander of juvenile and I was a commander of juvenile once upon a time in my career, that we look for children, black and white, every day, every night. Well, I just want you to know this. I just want you to know, we get reports of children missing every day relative to them not coming home from school, missing from bus stops, and we even got a term called serious missings. And detectives do not go home until we find that child. And when another shift comes on, some detectives work overtime to look for that child. So on a daily basis, we find those children, and it doesn't end up on the news as a tragedy. So I just wanted you to know that relative to what we do in St. Louis City, relative to missing children, both black and white, every day is serious, and we do not play. That's a priority for our juvenile division. Y'all, okay. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, before the chief left, he vowed to do something to make that not for that not to happen again. And we got new leadership, and I guarantee you, he's a man of his word. We'll address those issues. So make sure you come downtown. You make an appointment to see us when you come downtown.
All right, let me go ahead. Hey, no, go ahead. Come on.
Two quick things. One, in reference to the missing people, there is over 1,000 missing people in the state of Missouri. That is embarrassing and ridiculous, and that is a shame. I go out looking for missing people along with a lot of other people. We get together and volunteer our time. St. Louis is becoming a burial ground, especially Kinloch. And it's not just the Kinloch, people of Kinloch that we're finding out there. I was one of the people that found the remains of Monica Sykes. The day that Jerome was found, we were having our Juneteenth celebration, and we had to stop and do a special prayer for him. This is somebody's child. This is somebody's son, somebody's daughter, in a lot of cases, somebody's father, and somebody's mother. And we're really taking it serious. So I have an organization as well. If any of you can start trying to help work with these organizations. I was also there when the 13-year-old girl, we found her when she was found in that vacant house over on Terry out for Union. And one other thing, these brothers that's locked up, and maybe y'all can't do nothing about it, but Kim, I really appreciate the programs that you have put together because that's prevention, and I know prevention is always better than litigation. But we got too many of our brothers and sisters actually in prison right now for miscellaneous crap, for traffic violations. Demetrious, I talked to you about them trying to lock my son up 3 to 8 years for speeding. And one of the problems is, and I hate that Chief Hayden is gone, but one of the problems is these police are giving, when they're writing tickets, they're writing the wrong crime. That is a problem. When they write down, instead of writing speeding, they're writing down some. Now you got to come up with $10,000 or $15,000 just to prove in America guilty into proven innocent, not innocent into proven guilty. And so it's so many people in jail that are in prison when they shouldn't be in prison. Well, they can be more productive out here. These black men could be in the families raising their children. So if we can come up with some programs to help these brothers that's in jail, and when I say brothers, I'm talking about black and white as well, but help our people that's in jail for nonviolent crimes, because too many people are locked up for nonviolent crimes. Thank you for that.
Thanks. All right, now this is what we're going to do. We're wrapping it up, so I'm asking you to have like a minute question, and let's go over here, man.
I'd just like to make mention that I was once a state prison and federal prison. I did 11 years in federal prison. So I know the transition from federal prison back to the streets can be difficult for some of those who may not have family structure. They have pre-release courses that a lot of corporate people come and they do job mock fairs or whatever, like Walmart, for example. Walmart will come and do a mock job fair, but they won't hire felons. So it's kind of discouraging. They do offer jobs, but they make the hurdle so hard to overcome. What I like to do is offer, like, I'm a barber. They once had a barber program in the federal system. The 9/11 incident happened. Barbering was the first program that they canceled. So after my release, I just pursued it. Barbers are people who can understand police and people who can understand street. Barbers and beauticians are about the only people that can maybe bring something to the city as far as peace and closure, because barbers get paid a lot of money. People overlook the occupation of a barber. Just on average of $20 a haircuts take 30 minutes. And if you do 2 haircuts in 30 minutes, that's $40 an hour. So guys that are in prison in the pre-release programs, they need to see something that's more tangible to them as far as goals and not just so far-fetched. Like, it's a lot of talent here in St. Louis, but we don't have many barber schools. So some program that's kind of geared toward helping guys, helping young ladies better themselves, and they're able to see money. It's not like you're going to school for such a long time and you're not being able to see the benefits from it. But even in, like, from the halfway house, guys, even with felonies, barbering doesn't hinder you from that.
So let me ask you a question, man. So you're a barber?
Yes, sir, master barber.
So what we'll do, and that's good. I know what you're saying. So what we're going to do, I'm going to recognize some of the organizations that's here. Would you stand up, Dr. Prince? All right, Dr. Prince run the SLATE program. And any of you families, when y'all leaving out, you can get information from her, because they are hiring people. They will hire people. And there are people that have some background on them too. So, and if you want to give people your information, family information also, if you want them to get involved in the barber business. And it is a very lucrative business. I got some very good friends who's barbers, so thank you for that. And hey, Rick, stand up, Rick. Other programs we got, Rick and I created a soccer program. Terry, stand up. And we're going to go into the middle schools and elementary schools and teach the young black boys how to play soccer, to get them involved. Don't cost them a dime to do those kind of things. And Rick also have a great relationship overseas. So we're going to be sending some kids overseas too. So those are the kind of programs that we need to get involved. Carla, did you have something you want to say?
Yes, I did. So I heard a lot. I wanted to
State
say.
Representative Carla May.
Yes. I want to thank you, first of all, for having this forum, and welcome to the 84th District. You're sitting in the 84th District. I also want to give, some kudos to the people that you have up there. I've worked with Colonel Ronnie White, former State Representative Kim Gardner, and I grew up with Mr. Darren Sills. So we have a story. But this is the question I want to ask. There was a bill that was filed, the young man was talking about, the criminal code bill, and that's supposed to come into effect August the 28th of this year. It's supposed to be some form of expungement, but you have to read the language to find out if it's true expungement or not. But it's some opportunities out there for certain crimes. So that doesn't become effective till August the 28th. So, listen, we'll put it out there to give people information and let them read it to see if it'll affect them. We also last time put an expungement on the books for child support, criminal non-support. So there is expungement on the books for criminal non-support that became effective last session too. So I passed that bill. I just want you to know that. But the question I want all of you to say, where is the tip line? Because I hear you saying you want us to help you, but I need to know, besides calling 911, who can I call when I see somebody coming to buy drugs in the back of my house? Who can I call when I see them letting down the bucket and putting the drugs in, and I see it all the time? So we just need a tip line so that we can start people, when we see something, we can say something, and we can start calling that number and dropping them addresses in a bucket for you. That's what we want to do.
Well, hey, Carla, thank you for that. And let me do this. Let me bring those family out, and before you answer that, come here. Hey, Solo, turn your mic on. Stand up, big fella. Tell everybody who you are, man. This is one of my best friends.
My name is Jonny Granderson. And I really consider myself a private person, but when DJ called me and said he had this forum, I felt it was my duty to come out and speak, because I lost my son, Jazz Granderson, October the 16th, due to a carjacking. And what we have to ask ourselves, why? Why is it that us, as a race of people, kill each other at such a high rate for nothing? You understand? I mean, we have to take our community back, okay? Not to knock Black Lives Matter, but Black lives need to matter to Black people before we put the ownership on anybody else. We got to put it on ourselves. You see something, say something. When I was a little kid growing up, my grandfather said, "Where you get that skateboard from?" I said, "I bought it from Michael Jackson." He was a classmate. He said, "I better not catch you in the street with that skateboard." My grandfather had a barbershop up on Sheridan Eastern, right across from Eastern Tire Company. I'm out in the street skateboarding my butt off. He come home, "I thought I told you not to be in the street." Huh? No, Ms. Brown told him that she saw me in the street with the skateboard. We, as a race of people, need to take our community back. Listen to what I'm finna tell you. You don't see no charter schools out in Kirkwood. You don't see no charter schools out in Webster Groves, but all of a sudden you got all these charter schools in the inner city. Public school system did us justice back in the day. Now all of a sudden they no good. Give me a break.
The reason why I want him to say something is because his son was like my son, and it was fortunate that we got through this. But let me tell you something. These young ladies just lost some members in their family. Somebody know, but you ain't gonna say a word unless it happened to your family. And that's what I'm talking about. Come on up here with me, ladies. We got to start having accountability for ourselves, like he said. We have no accountability. We want to blame everything on the white man. Hey, trust me, it ain't the white man shooting you. It wasn't the white man that killed one of my best friend's son. It wasn't no white man that killed these girls' family member. It wasn't. So let's stop blaming the white man on that and blame ourselves, because we're doing a piss poor ass job in holding responsibility of the folks we need to hold responsible. You got to step our game up. And I'm asking you, if anybody know anything that's going on in this family, I'm going to have them on my show Sunday morning. And let me recognize my co-host, Jeff Rank, for staying up, man. Thanks, Jeff, for being here. Let me recognize that the fact is that these young ladies right here, man, they need help. Jeff can't do anything about it. Fred can't do anything about it. Gardner can't do anything about it. Lieutenant Colonel Ronnie Robbins can't do anything about it until somebody tells us something. That's when we can do something about it. Y'all understand that? All right, now we're going to wind this thing down. We have some other folks want to ask a quick question over there. All right, let's do that. And then she's got a question. After her question, I'll come to your question, and then we're going to get ready to wrap it up.
Hello. I am Shantae Wadley. I am the sister of Reba Moore, who was brutally murdered. The 3 young ladies that were killed on John Avenue on December 22nd. I was getting ready for work when I saw it come on the news, but I didn't know who it was until I got to work and got the call. And that was a pain. It was just so weird. But to see the pain on my father's eyes was just overwhelming. It was just overwhelming. And there were so many unanswered questions. But after the funeral and the calls died down, we felt, I'm speaking for me, hopeless because nobody reached out to us. Nobody. No elected officials. Nobody. I didn't know what to do. And I sent a text to my sisters and my dad, and I said, it's something we got to do. Somebody can help us. Who's the alderman in this ward? We didn't know. I Googled it, and I called down to St. Louis City. And I told the receptionist or the secretary who answered, and she told me who the alderman was, and I left a message for him. He didn't call me back. Luckily, we found Cleo that helped us. So today when you said building trust, how can you trust when you feel hopeless? Even though the alderman ended up calling Sunday after we, talked about it on the news, he apologized. But we have, like you said, we have to hold elected officials accountable. And he apologized, and I accept his apology. And the homicide detectives, I accept their apology as well. So I'm asking you, where do you go? How do you build trust when you're hurt, when you feel brokenhearted, when you feel neglected, when you feel pushed aside? What do you do? How? That's what I want to know.
All right, so this is real, folks. You're talking about keeping it real. This is real. It can happen to any of our family members. And it has happened to the front line right here. Our family members sitting in front. It's happened to their family members, man. I mean, it can happen to us. The only way we're going to change this, folks, we all got to get involved. We cannot continue to blame everybody else for what we're doing, what we're responsible for. None of us is perfect, but we got to be mindful of trying to change this thing, man. I got kids. Man, that would be a nightmare. When he called me and told me what happened to our son, that was the worst call I've had in my life. And I'm asking you, it's time for us to step our game up. Don't blame everybody else. I don't give a damn about the alderman. I don't give a damn about the mayor, the chief of police. None of that means nothing to me. What means something to me is us being accountable and responsible and holding everybody else accountable. Because any one of us can go out tonight, man, and something happened to us. Because you got a nice car, you're working hard. One of these young cats come out and jack you, then what? It can happen. So, folks, you may live in a nice home, may live in a nice environment. You're still not immune from this stuff, man. We got to do something. And we're trying to take steps to do something tonight. We got these guys up here, and they're going to do something. This man right here, Jeff Jenson's going to do something. I guarantee you. Lieutenant Colonel Ronnie Robinson, I guarantee you he's going to do something. Fred, I guarantee he's going to do something. Kim, no. Man, would you let me say what I got to say? Sit down, be quiet. You don't run nothing, Allison, you know that. Fred's going to do something. But let me make this clear. Kim can't do a damn thing if y'all don't do nothing with her. So I don't want to hear you sitting up there, Allison, screaming, Kim going to do something. Kim can't do nothing until we have her back. So with all them old folks down there, that Jeff Roder and all them clowns, we got to have her back. That's the real talk. Now, so when you want to scream about Kim, she can't do a damn thing if y'all sit at home. All right? All right. Well, I better see you there, Allison, right? There you go. There you go. Until we start taking responsibility, folks, it's going to be the same problem. You know, Kim can't do it. She can't prosecute nobody when nobody's there to prosecute. How can she prosecute the murderer, the people who murdered these people, family members? Nobody ain't telling them. There's nobody there. She can't do nothing without herself, y'all. Yes, sir. I agree. No, you're 100% right. You're 100% right until it's your family member. You're 100% right. But when it's your family member, you don't give a damn about what is going to happen, that you're going to try to get answers. I understand that, man. Yes, ma'am, said. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. 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 But ma'am, you're saying, hold on, you're saying the same, ma'am, hold on. Hold on, no, hold on. Now you, ma'am, hold on, time out now. Now this ain't your show, this is a community show. And I let you talk, but hold on, ma'am, just go and calm down now. This is what we're gonna do. I mean, what you said was right. We agree with what you're saying. No, but you've said enough. We got the point. I mean, but I got the point. I mean, I'm not going to argue with you about it, but I got the point. I'm going to let this young lady say what she has to say.
I don't think that there's not one person that's in this room who is not about making a change in this community. At this point, it's time to be proactive instead of reactive. My sister's gone. We can't bring her back. We can't bring any of these young ladies or young men back. At this point, this gentleman said that nobody wants to speak out. It's time out for that. We know that nobody, but everybody in this room wants to speak out. So it's time to get out of this room, get out of the churches, get out of your comfort zone and get in the community and do something. I'm actively involved in my community. I feed the homeless. I go out, I mentor children. I do different things in my community. So when I stand before the same community that I go out in, I expect something. I don't ask for much. I'm just asking for us to get out and be proactive and not reactive until it happens to you. Because I have a 20-year-old, and I'm not going to let society just take him out and think that it's okay. So we have to be proactive and not just sit around and talk about somebody scared. I'm not scared. Whatever happens, happens. If it's time for me to go, my insurance policy is paid up and my son will be taken care of. So it's just time to get out and do what it takes to make sure that it doesn't happen to your child.
Thank you very much. All right, well, we have one more over here? All right, well, I'm going to get two more, and then we're going to close down because I can't be here all night, folks. I mean, everybody got something else to do. All right, ma'am?
Yes, hello, I am Avis Mchugh with Habitat for Humanity, and I also work with Darren Seals. So two things. One is Habitat has built almost 400 houses, and most of them are in the St. Louis City area. And one of the things that we want to find out is what's the next step? So we've been working in the community for 25 years. And I've heard some really good things on the panel tonight, but I want to know what's the next step. So we're talking very 30-foot scope. We need to build on our community. We need to work together. We need to work with Gardner. But we need to hear some specifics of how we make that happen. How do we make the connection to support Kim? How do we make the connection to stay within our community, to support the alderperson, whether we agree with what they're doing or not agree with it? They've been elected into those positions, so we need to support them so that our community can look the way that we want to make them look. So let's be a little bit more specific, more so than just kind of getting each other riled up and saying, here we go. My second thing, and then I'm going to let you answer that, is I am currently working with Tamara Collier. She was the young lady that was shot in the neck. She was caught in crossfire on September 1st of last year. 25 years old. She has two children, a 1-year-old and a 5-year-old. She is a single mother, and she's paralyzed from the neck down. So here's my specific to you all. She is in desperate need of physical therapy, occupational therapy, and a place to live that can accommodate her current circumstances. So if you all know of anything, please come and see me, because Tammy is currently in a nursing home and separated from her children. So that's what I want us to do, is to be a little bit more specific about what our next step is when we walk out of here tonight.
All right, thank you. I'm going to let Kim answer that. I'm going to take one more question, man, and we do have to wind up.
Thank you. How can you help the Office of the Circuit Attorney? I mean, there's many different ways. You know, a lot of people talk about how we participate in the process. I mean, people need to participate as jurors when we have trials so we can pursue justice for individuals, the most violent offenders that we're trying to put away. At the same time, we need people to volunteer to help keep people out of the system. At the same time, we need to have you guys stand up, and these are your tax dollars. We need to fund this office appropriately. When we talk about criminal justice reform, and that's what I'm talking about, we have to have resources. I hear people talk about all these programs, but we've never had these programs inside the prosecutor's office. You know, when I took office, you know, I look at Dr. Alice Prince, and we had many conversations, and she's gonna put an actual slate office in my building so everybody can get a job. It's no more, well, we gotta wait till you talk to somebody. They're gonna put an actual slate office in the circuit attorney's office. We're actually trying to bring resources, trauma-informed counseling inside the circuit attorney's office. We're trying to actually bring resources so we can help people who are victims of crime, so we can help you maneuver through the system of not just being a victim, but at the same time help you get resources so you can move. You know, you're never gonna forget this is a traumatic situation, but help you and your family get past this. But we need resources. Everybody talks about all these programs, but none of these programs have existed inside this office. And what I see in my office, of the Circuit Attorney's office, it's sad when I have to beg, borrow, and steal to make sure I can save people's lives. Because I am like the ER. You know, everybody comes to me. People who have mental illness, people who have no jobs, people who need opportunity. And if I cannot help them right now, I'm doing them a disservice. And that's what I'm trying to bring. I'm trying to address the social issues that we hear, we see. We have lack of education. We have young people who barely graduate in 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, and we talking about get a job when they can't. We have communities that are traumatized by violence, and it's not just, you know, it's about trauma. Trauma and just even hearing what's going on out here. People are scared to talk to each other. So we actually have to push, and I have been pushing for the circuit attorney to be proactive, not just wait around till when something happens, going out here and having people go into the community, not when a case is trying to be issued, but to hear what's going on so we can help address these problems. But when we have resources out here that we can't touch because we don't control those resources, I need you guys to advocate to make sure we stop playing games with budgets, stop cutting our resources, and so we can get the resources to where it matters, to people who need help. And that's my job, and that's what I'm trying to do. So look, I support anybody who wants to help me. This is not me, Kim Gardner, elected official. This is about Kim Gardner doing the right thing. And hold me accountable, but at the same time, I need you to not just talk inside this room. I need you to go talk when you go to the Board of Aldermen when they talk about cutting $20, $30, $40, $200,000 out of my budget for no reason. Because they don't cut the police. You know, I'm also law enforcement. They don't cut the police budget. They cut the circuit attorney's budget. And so I'm always doing a lot with less. So I need you to advocate for these issues because, you know, we didn't get here in 1 year. I've been here 1 year. This is problems from decades. So we need long-term solutions, and it just does not happen overnight. And so I want you also to understand, people on this panel, we're not talking about it, we're about it. I work closely with Mr. Jeff Jensen. That's the first time that you have a U.S. attorney saying, look, let's address violent crime. Let's focus on how we can be more effective, not just putting people in the system, creating diversion programs in the federal system so we can also, some of the people who are more higher risk, give them opportunities, not just lock everybody up and say throw away the key, because that's not the solution. Because let me tell you this, if we arrested our way out of this situation or prosecuted our way out of the situation, we've been doing this for decades. St. Louis City should be the safest city around the country. We are not, because we have to be more smart on crime. And smart on crime means I need you guys, look, I know you're tired, because I'm tired too. I live in these communities. I see the devastation and destruction of violent crime. I see what it does. But we have to start talking about it, and we all have to pitch in. And pitching in means we can complain, but we have to say, let's work another day to addressing violent crime. And when you get up here and see the mayor and all other people talking about what we're going to do, let's hold elected officials accountable, but let's make sure they're accountable for what they need to be accountable for, not just every problem in the criminal justice system. So I look forward to working with you. I look forward to meeting with all of you guys. But like I said, we have to work together, and we have to have a strategic plan together, not disjointed.
Thanks, Kim. Hey, last question. Young lady, go ahead.
First of all, I just want to thank you for everyone being here and your commitment to what we're doing. And I've heard a lot of things today, and the theme that keeps coming to me is creating a culture of community engagement that deals with criminal justice and crime and all those other things. But we always talk about all this stuff, and I know I'm probably repeating what someone else said, but what is the plan? You know, and what's the next step? Do we create some sort of system of communication, you know, so that we know what each other is doing? You know, what could that possibly look like? And then the final thing I want to say, this is just a statement, my anxiety gets really raised high when I hear people say that you have to make good decisions. Now, granted, that's true, but I think we tend to have a tendency to forget about how we got here. And you look at all these stupid policies that have happened. I mean, you could just use housing policy and all other kinds of things that got us here. So that means that we're going to have to use some policy to get us out. We just can't program ourselves to death without a plan. That's all I have.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, Colonel, answer that, and we're going to conclude after you answer this question.
Relative to the community engagement piece, we are doing a lot of things relative to this new bureau, relative to community affairs, and putting programs in place and working real time as far as working on the systemic issues that are contributing to violent crime. We've got a heavy investment into young children and into the schools. We got commanders that are in the school every day. I was over at Cleveland ROTC today watching a play by young people that the script was put together, and it's about put down the pistol, stop the violence, and also about police brutality. And a captain on the police department, Captain Perry Johnson, helped write that play with these kids. It is a very, very powerful play, and the effect that it's having on those children. We had, after the play, we had over 200 students, seniors and juniors, sitting in an audience, and Darren Seals was there, and he had his testimony relative to these kids, and they got questions. They're tired of it too. It's good to see these young children that are tired of it. So as you say, we need to educate and let you all know what that plan looks like. And we're putting together, it's coming. This is a big ship. And we're getting ready to turn it around. Believe me, it's going to turn around. And we're going to educate the community with the ideas that we have, the engagement that we have, and what we're looking at is a thing called community CompStat. We have criminal CompStat every week, and we discuss about arrest, who we arrest. Tired of that. If we get together and create this community CompStat and advertise it, everybody that has resources will come to the same room, real time, and work on the chronic issues that are, and what officers are seeing every day, like changing the culture of policing. It has to filter down from the top, like the young lady said, to the street officer and get them involved, because they're out there interacting and communicating with people every day, and they see these things. And we tell them conscious, if they can get in their conscious, and I'm not just here to try to arrest anybody, I also want to try to fix the systemic issues and the suffering that's going on in the community, and I know resources. I know people who can get their bills help get their bills paid, get some counseling done, deal with the trauma. There's a lot of things coming, but it's going to have to turn, and we're turning, but we're working hard every day. Believe me, every day. We even get mad at each other. Policemen get mad at each other because we want it to stop. We really do. One of the biggest problems we have is knowing how to talk to people, knowing the culture of our community. We take a white officer from Franklin County or Jefferson County, and they apply for the department, 22, 23, 24 years old, and you put them, we train them for 32 weeks. And we put them out there with the power to stop, arrest, and detain, and question, and even take a life without question. And we put them at a disadvantage because they don't know the culture of the black community. They don't know. But listen, we can't be cynical about it. We have to understand it and talk about it. No more complaint. We know it. We recognize this new leadership recognizes that. And then you got black officers that don't have empathy and treat people and talk to people any kind of way. We've got to stop it. And it's my job, the captain's job, the chief's job to stop it. And it's going to stop. No more, like I said, we're at a crucial point. And if this community, if the police department doesn't change culturally, we will lose this community. We will lose it. Billion-dollar companies are talking about leaving the city. At no other time in the history does. We're data-driven in this country. People have information instantaneously at their fingertips. They look at numbers and percentages, and they look at, and you know what numbers are? Those are lives, death, violence, destruction in the community. And these big companies make a decision on those numbers. Am I going to invest in St. Louis? Amazon was supposed, you think Amazon was coming to St. Louis? We got NGA coming though. So we got some hope. We got some hope. So I'm not going to give up. I'm not giving up. I'm born, raised, grown up, nurtured, punished, everything in this city of St. Louis. I still live in the city of St. Louis. Everybody at this panel lives in the city of St. Louis. We have to make that investment to get our children, a heavy investment in our children, and rebuild that trust with our kids, because it's a generation out there that has no disregard for law and order, and they don't care about talking to no police. We understand that, okay? That's part of our problem. We got to that point. Now we got to turn it and change it. So it's coming. The education about what the police department and the direction we're going in is coming. We got some tremendous officers that have tremendous ideas relative to a holistic approach to policing. But unfortunately, in the past now, I'm going to lay it out there. You talking about being 100? I'm not mentioning no names. Some leadership believed in enforcement, heavy enforcement only. It don't work. It don't work. But now it's changing. It's going to change. We just asked for opportunity. This lady right here, from the time she said she was going to run, we've been working together. When he was appointed, one of his first calls was to me and said, hey, what do you think about the conditions of the community? How can my office help? He called a meeting that brought all the entities in one room relative to enforcement, systemic issues, even spiritually brought Reverend Fraction in that room relative to, you all know it's a spiritual disconnect from the black church to the black community. You all know it. You all know it, so we got to put them and hold them accountable also. It's going to take a team to bring this back around, because a team lost it. We have got to stop going for the okie doke and settling for a show. We got to stop that. This ain't no show. It's work being done. Now we need to educate you about it so you can be a part of it. And I hear you. I feel you. And we're going to make that happen. Take my number down. Anybody in here? 314-304-0252. That's my cell number, 314-304-0252, and you call me. Okay? Captain Johnson, you in the room? Could you stand up, please? Come here, come up front, please. Sergeant Ogilvy. Sergeant Ogilvy, you in the room? Could you come up front, please? Okay, I know I'm a finish. I'm a finish. I'm just gonna close with this. When you call me, you're gonna get to know that gentleman right there and that gentleman right there. They work in my bureau. I mean, we may disagree on issues or approaches or how we get that, but you know what? 100% they care. To the point where tears will be in their eyes. They care and they talk about what they want to do in the community. And you're going to see it. Tremendous leaders, both of them. Okay? So call. Thanks. 304-0252.
Hey, let me thank everybody for coming out, and I truly appreciate it. Thank you very much, and have a safe trip home. Thank you.
Now,